2014, Zoe and I did the 2-week Wild West tour in the USA with Eagle Rider and soon knew we wanted to go back for more. 2 years later, we flew our own bikes across and spent 10 weeks on our USA and Canadian adventure. This morning's journey was a little bit boring. We had to do interstate for quite a long time, a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours on the interstate, but we had to do it to get the job done. It's really the only way back out from Las Vegas, where we've been staying. To give you some idea of geography, we started somewhere up here in Vancouver and came down the west coast, did a few bits around here. We've been through some of California. So then this morning, we stopped off at, we spent a couple of days in Las Vegas, which meant we crossed from California into Nevada. We had to cross the Sierra Nevada to do that, and as you know, we got stuck in Death Valley, so we tried to get some of that. We did a little corner of California, and we are now in Arizona, and we've picked up Route 66. If you look around, I'll get the camera woman to pan around a little bit. This probably isn't how you imagine Route 66, and it's not how I imagine it. I imagine Route 66 as the old garages, the old motels, gas stations on the side of the road, whereas this is just desert. We're in the Mojave Desert here, and this bit of the Route 66, if you look on this map, this is one of the original parts of it. It's called the National Backcountry Byway. So Route 66 originally went this way through Oatman, which is where we're heading, and then to Kingman there. Route 66 itself then later changed to follow this route, which is now the I-40. So the I-40 there was Route 66, but this is even older Route 66, which we're on at the moment. Fairly slow going, but we're going to do this road, and as I said, we'll go to Oatman, where we will see some burrows. We'll go next to this one. Wild burrows that live in Oatman, where we are now. They are descendants of the ones that were in the mines when this was a gold mining town, and they were all left wild when the mines closed, and the descendants are still around, eating bumpers.
We left Oatman and headed to Kingman on Mountain Road. Apparently there are 190 bends on that road, and I enjoyed every one of them. We met a couple of Canadian bikers that day who store their bikes in Palm Springs every winter, and were on their annual trip to collect the bikes and take them back home to Canada. It sounds like a nice annual chore.
This is more like the Route 66 you imagine. This is Hackberry general store where I'm now. They don't sell fuel anymore, but it's still a store, and it's a popular place to stop along Route 66 to see old cars and memorabilia and everything else. We're at the Cavern Inn near Peach Springs, and somebody told me yesterday that this particular place is where they filmed Cars. Yeah, that animation, yeah, this is where they filmed it.
As we continued our journey on Route 66, we started seeing some of the signs we remembered from our Eagle Rider tour. Do you think these sorts of safety signs would work in the UK?
As you can imagine, we used a lot of fuel on the trip. In the US, we were filling 2 motorbikes with fuel for less than it would cost to fill one of them back home, and it surprised us to hear Americans complaining about the ridiculously high gas prices. It must be over 20 years since fuel in the UK was that cheap, and in fact at home we pay more just in tax on the fuel than the total price in the US. The fuel would have cost us over £1,000 more to do the same mileage as this trip, but in the UK.
Bike fuel ran over, a lunch stop at the Roadrunner saw us as riders refuelled before continuing on Route 66 and reading more of the Burma Shave safety signs.
Wanting to stay away from the major roads, we took a rural route to our destination, through a cattle ranch. previous night we stayed in the James Dean room at a typical Route 66 motel, and yes, apparently the man himself had stayed there. And that night we pitched our tent near Williams and rode into town for dinner. Fortunately, there was no need for anyone to draw their gun or be judicious in their marksmanship that night.
Elk greeted us at the car park entrance in the morning. It's recommended you keep at least 100 feet from them, but we really wanted to park and they didn't seem to mind.
We're spending today at the Grand Canyon. We're on the South Rim and we've come out to Hermit's Rest. We're guessing this is the Hermit's house, we're not really sure. But you can just about make out the Colorado River. That's 1 mile, 1 vertical mile down, and apparently at that point it's 300 feet wide and 40 feet deep. So although it just looks like a little trickle, like a little stream down there, it is absolutely huge, and it just demonstrates how high up we are today.
The clouds looked threatening for much of the day and we feared we may get wet, but the rain held off as we spent time exploring miles of the canyon's rim.
After a poor night's sleep, we found ourselves in Winslow, Arizona, and so naturally had to stand on the corner. The Eagles song plays over speakers, which is fine if you're just visiting, but it might be a bit tiresome if you live there. We rode a bit more of Route 66 before it joined the interstate, and then plodded on for a few miles, making sure to take it easy.
Today we've come to the Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. This is Kachina Point and it overlooks the Painted Desert.
These logs have turned to stone and quartz over a very long time, and although it might look like they've been cut with a saw, they've actually gradually broken off like this as they crack under their own weight.
Having headed into New Mexico to avoid the Memorial Day weekend crowds at the major sites in Arizona, we headed to somewhere sciencey that you might have seen in the films Contact or Terminator Salvation.
This morning we've travelled here without most of the luggage on the bike, which makes quite a nice change. We're at the hotel for a couple of days, so we've been able to leave most of it there, and it's amazing how light the bike feels without the luggage on. And we've come to the very large array here in New Mexico, which is one of the world's biggest radio telescopes, and the dishes that are all around receive the radio signals from space. There's a supercomputer here somewhere, converts them into images and data that can be used. So we're having a look around, see what it's like. Right, so Zoe's stood over there. She's at one of these dishes and she's going to whisper something into it, and I should be able to hear it in this one. Let's see. I'll put this here, see if you can hear as well. Well, I heard it say, hello, my name is Zoe.
So this is one of the dishes that makes up the very large array here in New Mexico, and they are 82 feet in diameter each one, so they're absolutely massive, and there are 20 something of them that make up the whole system. They remind me quite a lot of Goonhilly, which is somewhere I used to go in Cornwall when I was a kid, but that was on a much smaller scale than this. This is absolutely massive.
we learnt that the formal unit of measurement of large things in the US is the school bus, and that the 82 feet that Zoe mentioned the dishes measure equates to 2 school buses. It said so on the information sign. Seeing as we haven't got the luggage on the bikes at the moment, we saw on the road, on the map, a dirt road which is a backcountry scenic byway, and there's marker posts as we go along to tell us what we can see at each point. So we thought we'd give it a try. Hopefully it's not too bad. It's not so far because our bikes don't have spoke wheels or anything, so we don't want anything too severe that might crack the wheels. But so far it seems fine. It's just this gravel surface.
Allister's bike has traction control, and along this road he discovered he had to turn it down or off, otherwise the slightest bit of wheel spin could cut the engine power and make it difficult to go anywhere.
It was a 4 states kind of day: New Mexico, Arizona, Utah and Colorado. It's the only point in the USA where 4 states meet. We stood in all 4 at once and also rode all 4, but the highlight was Monument Valley.
So this morning we stopped at Speeding Motorsports in Farmington and got my chain sorted. So that's all good. They've tightened it, cleaned it and lubed it for me. So hopefully it will last longer now.
We're just north of Monument Valley. We've stopped to take some photos, do a bit of filming, and there's a dust devil over there, if just by the road, if you can see it on the camera. Might not be in the shot. And looking on the phone, we've got it's only 18 minutes until we get to our hotel for the night, so that'll get us there just before 3:30, so we're going to head off there now. Got some nice views on the way. I've just hit my shin on the crash bar. I don't need my shin anyway. I'll ride it out. Okay, let's go. As hotel room views go, this one was pretty good.